Hi, how are you doing? And welcome to the second episode on the top 10 low capital intra African businesses that can make you super successful. In the last episode, we talked about the very first item. Some people have been saying, why did I make it so where I started with number one first instead of reading from number 10 to one? No, I wanted it, quite different and a whole lot different, from, how it normally would have been. However, every item that I have spoken about or I will speak about as well, it's important. It depends on what you do with the information. But keep in mind as well that of course if you've not watched the very first episode, I suggest you watch the very first episode so that you will truly understand what we are talking about in terms of the top 10 low capital intra African businesses that can make you super, super successful. Well, if you also want to specialize on an appointment where you want to speak with me, feel free to hit me up. I'll be available. But let's go to the item that I would term number two on the top 10 low capital intra African businesses that can make you super successful. So, on number two will be handmade jewelry and, of course, trinkets and accessories. Now, why is this actually so very important? Before I tell you why it's important, you need to realize as well that some of the information I'll be giving you may just only a bit of information. There's a book I'm working on as well that you may want to read, which gives you an in depth detail of some of these items and will also contain where you can also source for some of the materials or some of the items or some people, vendors or companies which actually who are actually involved in producing this item. But also keep in mind as well, when I speak about low capital intra African related businesses, you must realize as well I'm not speaking only about the African continent. I'm speaking as well regarding the diaspora. And very importantly, these are items also that do not require major regulation. Rather, what they may require is maybe taxation or maybe little custom duty. Besides, these are items as well that you can ship using courier service to ship the item from one country to the other. So let's talk about handmade bead accessories and of course trinkets. Now, you need to realize as well that almost every African nation has some sort of bead. And beads are something that is so very respected, within the African culture, either in, on the continent or even in the diaspora. Now, if you go to so many African countries, you will find that they wear probably maybe something on the hand, which will serve kind of like a purpose of identity, showing to say that they are from certain cultures or from certain regions or from certain, people. Now, most importantly, these beads, those items, not only, are things that are actually important alone to people who live on the continent of Africa, where you can trade them from one country in Africa to the other without regulation. But it's also so very important as well with Africans living, in the diaspora. And guess what? You can start businesses of that nature with as little as below even $100, starting even with $50, depending on the country you're living in. Now, with the power of social media, it has even made it so super easy, to either publicize, trade, or even speak about, the uniqueness of whatever bead or whatever item that you have made. All you need to understand and all you need to do is to understand the technique that you will use, in marketing, these items. So handmade beads, and I repeat, handmade beads, not just about anyone, handmade jewelry, which are crafted, specifically, especially when we talk about, African related, items are so important. And besides, they also have kind of like an ancestral connection, or they are also important in terms of people who also want to be spiritually, connected, to the continent of Africa. And so there are tons and tons of them all over Africa, and it is something that you might want to check out. You may say you're living probably maybe in the West or you're living wherever in the world. Guess what? It doesn't even matter. With the power of social media, with the power of communication in today's world, it is easy to move some of these items or to buy some of those items from one country even to the other. And they do not require, they are not flagged majorly, by customs, and they don't even require even major, custom duties as it would have been, with regards to every other item. So, like I said, number two is handmade jewelry, trinkets, and of course, you can also, call them, if you wish, beads as well in the African culture. And one thing I just want to advise as well is that the culture of trinkets, jewelry, and handmade beads or whatever you may be buying, it didn't start today. Even if you go back to even Bible times, you will find information with regards to that. But that will be number two on the list of items that I have been I decided to speak about with regards to 10 top low capital intra-African related businesses that you can carry out, or you can do to make you super successful. Now, I need you to also realize as well, we'll be talking on number three in the next episode, but to prepare your mind, you need to also ask yourself, what will item number three be about? Is it going to be about fashion, or is it going to be something totally different? Is it going to be related to something people wear? I leave that to you, to begin to guess. And I believe when we come with episode three, you will be able, to still follow us as well as we proceed in speaking about the top 10 low capital intra-African related businesses that can make you super successful. But hey, do not hesitate, of course, to follow, like, and share the page. But most importantly, you want to speak with me with regards to how you want to start the business. If you look down the screen, of course, you will see book your appointment. That is what it means. You can actually send me also a message in terms of, one-on-one conversation with regards to investing in, businesses of this nature. But I remain Young Joseph, and that will be a wrap for this episode. I see you on the next episode.